Good afternoon. My name is Eric Schultz, and today I'd like to inform you about post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. Before I do, imagine you're at Bagram, Afghanistan. You're working in the ER that day. All of a sudden, over the radio, you hear IED blast, 2 critical, ETAs 5 minutes, multiple traumas. As you start to prepare, those 5 minutes seem like an hour. Then all of a sudden, you hear the choppers landing. A few minutes after that, the first patient rolls through the doors. Through all the commotion, yelling, and blood, you go to remove this patient's helmet. At that moment in time, you realize this patient's a friend of yours. Even though everything that could be done was done, your friend didn't make it. At this moment in time, you wake up. You're covered in sweat. You look around. You realize you're at home, not Afghanistan. You're laying in your own bed. Your spouse is laying next to you. This was just a nightmare. This is the world of PTSD. I was an Air Force medic for over 20 years. I deployed 4 times to combat zones. I've seen some of the worst injuries ever imaginable. The fact is that all that time spent in combat zones has taken a toll on me, and I now suffer from PTSD. Post-traumatic stress, or PTSD, the unseen wounds, can impact your life and those who care about you forever. I'd like to tell you a little bit about what PTSD is, what the signs and symptoms are, and finally to let you know what kind of help is available for someone who is suffering from PTSD. So you're probably wondering, what exactly is PTSD? PTSD is an actual medical condition from a person that has been exposed to a traumatic event. It can be a day-to-day experience from being exposed to that traumatic event and reliving that traumatic event. It has become very prevalent in Iraq and Afghanistan veterans, but what the general public doesn't realize is that it can happen to anybody. It is diagnosed using the PTSD checklist, and a copy of this can be found in a book called Once a Warrior, Always a Warrior. Now that you know what PTSD is, let me explain some of the signs and symptoms of PTSD. The signs and symptoms of PTSD include many things. A quote from this article that I've read, Combat Duty in Iraq and Afghanistan, Mental health problems and barriers to care, states, mental health problems including major depression, substance abuse, impairment in social functioning, and the ability to work. Depression soon sets in because the person relives the situation that they were exposed to. Avoidance of activities or situations because they remind this person of this experience. Substance abuse and alcohol or narcotics is used to help numb these feelings. Anxiety can be seen because the person is feeling that way because they keep remembering this traumatic experience. Reoccurring nightmares is seen through many of these people that suffer from PTSD. Flashbacks. This is sort of like the person sitting there daydreaming. For a person with PTSD, it is like the event is happening for real, all over again. Insomnia, because the person does not want to relive the experience through their nightmares. And finally, being super alert of their surroundings, or in other words, being on guard constantly. So as you can see, PTSD has many signs and symptoms. A person can show just a few or all of these, but they are suffering. Since I have talked about the signs and symptoms of PTSD, I'd like to inform you of the resources that are available for someone to receive help that is suffering from PTSD. The first thing, and the most important for someone, is to seek out therapy. Now, this can be from a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a counselor, friends and families. Counseling, one-on-one or in a group, has been shown to be very effective. Medication therapy to help for the depression, the sleep, and the nightmares has also been proven to be very effective. Exposure therapy, or having to talk about the experience until you become comfortable, seems to be very effective also with helping these folks. Another quote from Interventions for War-Related Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder. Family members are essential participants in the healing process. That's very key, because your family members sit there and go through this with you. Dr. Hoag, a very well-renowned psychiatrist that deals in this field, said it the best. There's no switch, but you can learn to dial it up or down. This was quoted by him at a PTS expert, Charles Hodge, to talk to our mental health article. He also went on to say, it is a sign of strength to come in and get it, and not a sign of weakness to receive help. Today I spoke about post-traumatic stress disorder. I hope that this helped enlighten you on what PTSD is, what the signs and symptoms are, and the kind of care that is available for someone who is suffering from PTSD. Now remember the story that I began this speech with, the one in Afghanistan? The one where you wake up from your nightmare of losing your friend that was wounded? This was not your nightmare. This is one of mine. From the combat that I have seen while serving, I am an Air Force veteran, and I suffer from PTSD. Thank you.